I don't mind being a guinea pig, so thanks, Carolyn, for inviting me to do this. But I do want to make it quite clear that this is not the how. This is the what, because I told Carolyn, I don't really know how to do it. I oftentimes say to my student worker, please call Brett Deaton or Michael or somebody and find out how to do what I want to have done. So some of my colleagues in the Department of Theology said, so is your student worker going to be the one who's running the CTE thing? And that's, you know, I think I should be given a little bit more credit than that. But apparently I am called a high-end user of Moodle. And all of my classes are on Moodle, and I do use it a lot. But what I'm going to do is talk about how I use it and for what purposes. And I can start off by just saying, these are, obviously you know this, these are my classes. I think I'll just start with, it's this. I'm just going to start with, just pick one. This is my super section. It has 183 students in it, and the teachers there are my TAs. So Brett can always put TAs in to have editing rights if you want that to happen. I have 5 TAs for this. But the reason why I'm going to show you this is I want to, again, I'm not showing how, but just showing what some of the things that I do. For instance, my course schedule is on Moodle. I do not put it on my syllabus because once it's put on the syllabus, students seem to think that that's the gospel. So if at the end of my syllabus, I say tentative course schedule will be up on Moodle, then they recognize, all right, look, I have to go there to find it. And it also provides me some fluidity. It's like, so for instance, today, which is not where we, all right, this is where we were today. And so I tell them what the lecture theme is going to be, what the topics are going to be, and then what the reading is. So everything is put together that way. Now, what happened today was Historical Theology Day 4, 16th century, we talked about the Roman Catholic Church in the 16th century, and they asked questions for a solid 60 minutes. So I only had 15 minutes to go through Luther, Calvin, and evangelicalism, because they wanted to know about Mary and the saints and purgatory. So what usually takes about 20 minutes took 60 because they just wanted to know about that kind of stuff. Now what I can do because of this is I can edit this out and move it down and let them know, all right, we're going to do evangelicalism and Pentecostalism on this day. So it gives me the fluidity which in the syllabus it doesn't have. And all of my readings, other than textbook readings, are at the bottom here. And so I give them cues, what the reading will be, and then you have the link down here, which is either the exact same phrase or common phrases. And then, of course, I mean, you know, you click it and it pulls up. They can either save it to their hard drive and run with it, or they can read it right off Moodle. Reading it off of Moodle is clunky and not very, it's not as easy, but I mean, it can be done. Another thing that this affords me, doing it this way, is let's say that you do have a class where everybody wants to ask questions about Roman Catholicism and they're still interested. I can upload a reading right to there and say supplemental reading on contemporary post-Vatican II Roman Catholicism or something like that, and I can put it up there and I can just earmark it for any student who might want further reading. It's there. They don't have to go find it. They don't have to go to the library for electronic reserve. I've already done it for them. And I usually put that kind of stuff, well, this is also confusing. Students need to, you always have to go to the topic list so that you can see the folders. And the last thing that they look at, so if they click this right here, anytime they come to this page, that's going to be the default page they come to. So if they go down and they say, oh, well, there's nothing further, he must not have, it must be a free day, because they have to go, down here in order to see all the files, you know, to see all the what do you call these things? Well, they're folders. So I break it down into, this is what we're going to talk about during these days, this is what I'm going to talk about on these days. So any kind of supplemental reading, I always put right here at the beginning. This right here, PRP dysfunction, that's an assignment that I have. I have 7 of them throughout the semester. They're periodically required projects, and they are always over readings. And this is just PRP dysfunction, and by which we meant these are the typical errors that students make. And so we developed this, me and the preceptors, we developed that so that a student, for instance, can read, this is what you don't want to do, and whenever we're grading the PRPs, in the margin we can just write 1. And then they read, oh, well, right here, this was the problem that I did. So that whenever we're grading, we don't have to write the same thing over and over again. All right, we're grading 183 one-page papers 6 times a semester. So it helps to be able to say 5, 5-1, 5-2. And then the students can use this, and it's for skills acquisition. So all of my core classes, I always think of them as skills acquisition along with content conveyance. So I am a big proponent of the critical thinking skills and how you develop in students the ability to do them. And this is one of the things that we do for grading. I don't even have any idea. How do I get back? Oh, okay. All right, so those are the 2 just general ways that I use Moodle in terms of course schedule, and then also for readings, and then for supplementary stuff. I think that the reason why Michael thinks of me whenever he thinks of Moodle users is because of my video uploads. I started video and audio recording every single lecture I have ever said for the last 4 years. So I have a log of every lecture that I have, and it's in my external hard drive. And some of them are video and some of them are audio. And the reason why I do that, there are 5 reasons why I audio and or video record each lecture. The first reason, Kevin Brown in a blog talked about flipped classrooms, where you put the lecture up on Moodle, and then when you come in, you discuss. I don't really do that, and that's not because I have any antipathy toward it. It's just that I just don't do it. I do something like it, but
do you have an opinion on that approach?
Flipped classrooms, I do, but I think that my opinion will come out as I keep talking as to why I don't do it. Okay. But I do use the movies, and there are 4 main reasons why I use them. And I don't actually have any uploaded on this class, but I do have them uploaded on, I guess I have to go to my course list. I do have them uploaded on my summer classes, but I'll talk about that more in a second.
Are these clips that you're using?
These are full lectures.
No, you said.
I upload my entire lecture.
Okay.
Opening day lectures. In the 3rd session, we always start on Friday. I don't start on Friday. Opening day lectures. Stay home for the weekend. Here's your Friday lectures. I tell them exactly what's in the folder, what they'll find, how they should do it, why they're listening. Hey, by the way, you're going to have a quiz on this first day. And they can just go straight here, and they can click. I hope that it works, but that's what I do. So on those days, whatever, I just send out this mass. There you go. I don't have the audio in, but I do everything that we always do, right? We always introduce ourselves. What name do we want to be called by? What is the logic behind this class? I'm sitting in my office. It's on a Thursday morning. I'm putting it together so that they can watch it over the weekend instead of driving home. Right? There you go. And it is. Intro to Theology is my 2nd favorite class to teach. I love it. And then I just say, okay, you've got audio lecture this, audio lecture this. All right. So yeah, it is the straight up lectures. But I want to talk about the 4 ways that I use the Moodle videos, and I use them for 4 different ways. The first is what I call a video replay. All right, I know that everybody in this room, this happens to them. Our lectures are so good that people stop writing notes and just listen, right? Has this ever happened where ideas and things are going and people just like gawk? And maybe it only happens to me. Maybe I'm just that good. But I just get these, and you can see they're engaged, their eye contact, they're with you, but the pencil stops. And they just get captivated by what's going on in the classroom, whether it's a back and forth discussion, whether it's for the first time they've ever heard Roman Catholic theology, which is what happened today. They just stop fooling with their phones and they're locked in. But they're not taking notes. So I do video replays. I upload the video or the audio for the lecture so that students can go back to it if they want to. Video replays or audio replays. I don't always make those available to everybody, and I don't announce it. Hey everybody, I always do video replays, so don't pay attention. I don't do that kind of a thing. But if I see that something like that has happened, then I will offer that up as a video replay, as an audio replay.
Are you using PowerPoint?
I don't use PowerPoint,
Okay.
but I do draw all the time.
I know that. I've come in after you.
Yes, I always erase though. The second reason why I use it is what I call athlete absenteeism. Athletes are absent a lot because of games and that kind of stuff, and I don't mean it. All right, and they're allowed, but we have a very strong co-curricular student body, right? I mean, I've had students who have been taken on conferences by psychology professors, and so they miss class. Now, my knee-jerk reaction is to say, no, I'm not going to miss my class to go to some psychology voodoo thing. That's my first reaction. But I know that these things are important, right? It's a way of mentoring. Faculty mentor students by taking them to these things so they can see. So I'm not going to say you can't go, but what I do say to them is, I will video the lecture. The lecture will be audio recorded, and it becomes your responsibility to listen to it, to watch it, right? And so sometimes in my super class, I can actually have them watching it in front of a graduate student. So the graduate students are doing their work and their grading, and they're sitting out in the suite and they're watching it. Or I can just expect that they will, and they will or they won't. I mean, an athlete is going to do what he or she is going to do, but I'm making it possible for the athlete or for the choir person to not have to rely on somebody's notes. So that's another reason how I use it.
Skip, are these all done in your office, or do you?
No, they are actually classroom lectures that This is an audio. I don't actually have a video one up on this one. This is an audio lecture of me actually doing it in a class.
So do you have like your own equipment, or?
Just have a little digital recorder.
Right.
Sometimes I put it right here, and you hear it scratching, so I had to stop doing that. But iPhones do it just the same. Teeter-totter, yeah. I don't know. It feels like it's not right.
All right. So we also talk about issues of religion too.
So I'm in a big lecture hall.
Of religion also,
And so, yeah, I mean, this is my intro to theology class. So it is all piece. I know exactly what I'm going to do every day and every week. So why not just? So yeah, this is an actual class, and there are students who are making comments and questions, and I'm answering their questions. And so they get that kind of stuff. Now, what I also do with this, and I guess I'm kind of going out of order, but who cares about that? One of the things that I've had to do is, because I use the board so much, I take pictures of my board work at the end, and then there's my board. So I don't have PowerPoints because, but I can do this in the class, write it up, and then take a picture of it, and then just use it all the time. So that if it's an audio lecture, or even if it's a video lecture, I have to do it in such a way that the what do you call it? The image isn't grainy. What's that called? The definition of it is not as good as you would want to be able to see that. So I can just take a picture on my phone and upload it. There it goes. So a third reason why I do video uploads is students are so busy that I always do these things with small groups. I call them think tanks, and they have some kind of project that they have to do. And invariably, students always tell me, well, we can't ever get together. So-and-so works, blah, blah, blah. So what I do is I upload the lecture, and they watch it on their own at home, and they do their group work in the room. So it's not about somebody has to. That's the closest thing that I get to a flipped classroom. So the day whenever we do this thing, Carolyn, we're talking about the test, their lecture will be up, so I won't actually lose time. So this kind of stuff happens, I have a certain kind of freedom to do things in the classroom because I have other avenues to get the material and the discussion out. So I got tired of hearing all the whinging and whining about so-and-so didn't do anything, and it was his responsibility to do this part of the project, and how can you grade me upon that? So I started doing that. And the last thing is, and I'm actually going to have to use this for today, is extended class. So we didn't get through evangelicalism. So what will I do? I will cut out my evangelicalism lecture. I will upload it to Moodle. I will say it's part of your weekend homework. We're going to start with Pentecostalism on Thursday. So I don't get to everything, but you know that it's important. But you don't want to say to people who are asking really good questions, we're done. All right, I know you have all these great questions about Roman Catholicism, but I have to put a stop to it so that I can get through the syllabus. Well, they're really great questions. There's some real learning going on, but I don't want people not to get the material on evangelicalism and how their particular tradition is connected to the rise of evangelicalism, so I just put it up on Moodle, and then they can listen to it or not. If they don't listen to it, then their quiz will suffer. Because whenever I do have extended class time or something like that, or a video so that you have group work inside, I make sure that there are questions on that lecture that are on the exam or on quizzes. I mean, that's just what I do. All right. Now going back to this, I actually experimented the last 2 summers with what I called it as like a summer virtual classroom. And the reason why I did this is because by the time you get to July, there are students who are exhausted. They are absolutely exhausted. And oftentimes our summer students are working jobs. So they're working jobs to pay for their tuition for the upcoming year, but they're also taking classes. So their schedules are very cramped. So I have 2 days on, 3 days off, which is 2 days in the classroom, 3 days of lecture. And so this was the first day of lecture, and then you go to the topic, go back to the topic list. Introductory, here, let me go to this one, historical theology. There we go. So one of these days, Thursday, was a 1 day off. And all the lectures are right there. And there they are.
So you don't meet in the classroom?
Do not meet in the classroom.
Oh, okay.
Yep.
Oh, but you give them a deadline for upload.
That is correct, because you can go over here to reports. You can go to activity report, and it will tell you exactly who is logged in for what video. And I know, all right. And you can also go to the user, right, Michael? You can find out which user logged in and which didn't, instead of just these raw numbers. So yeah, you can find out when the last time a person logged in, if they logged into a particular thing. So, yep. Now, with the the summer virtual thing that I tried, I did learn a couple of things in my experiments. And the first thing that I learned is that I have to have some kind of a worksheet that they fill out as they're listening to the lecture, and then they have to upload that worksheet at a certain time. And yeah, 2 a.m., the reason why I made it 2 a.m., I'm not awake at 2 a.m., but it'll tell me whenever it's dropped to make sure that they had actually done it by that time. Because then, so we had Monday, Wednesday, and Friday off, and we had Tuesday and Thursday in the class. And then the next week we would have Monday, Wednesday, Friday in the class, and Tuesday, Thursday off. So they're in the classroom half the time, even though they're getting the same amount of material, which I found out is okay, because seat time is not necessarily in the seat time. So, not breaking any SACS rules on doing that. So I found out you have to have them doing something, because they have a tendency to forget, right? And they'll be like, oh, well, it's on video, so I can catch up the next day. So that's the reason why you have to have something to make sure that they're staying on pace. Otherwise, they'll come in, and this happened this summer. Nobody had had listened to the Trinity lectures. So try to have a discussion on the Trinity when nobody's even discussed the lectures. It's impossible. So I basically, did the Trinity lecture and then uploaded the lecture that would have been for that day. So I was able to actually kind of do that. All right, anyway, enough of that. And then I already said the board work photos. Second thing is that students like the idea of the virtual room, but they do forget, so you have to check the log, make sure. The third thing is, with this, is that some students gave me problems because they sent things like this. I didn't sign up for a tech class, and I don't have a computer that can do that. So they will make excuses about their technology not being able to do things. And I got this a lot in the first week in the third session. Well, there was something wrong with your video. So of course what I do is I say, who else had problems? Nobody else has problems, and then I say, it's your problem, Rolando. All right? Go to the library or something like that. I don't care, but you don't get out of it that way. I think that some students lie. I think that they're bald-faced, straight-up liars, and that they will tell you that something's wrong with your video when there's absolutely nothing wrong with your video. They're just foisting the responsibility. I can handle that because I got no problem looking at a student and saying, I feel like you're lying to me now. But some people wouldn't take that kind of a direct approach.
You say that directly?
I'd say in front of the entire class, I feel like you're lying to me. All right? That's not the same thing as saying you are lying to me. I said, I feel right now like you're lying to me. You have to, I don't understand how this could be the case when everybody else, it worked for them. But it is a problem with respect to students saying, I have a tech issue, there's something wrong with your thing. You're Harmony, I'm not Harmony. I'm Command and Achiever, all right? Carolyn and I share Command. Third thing that I'm going to be experimenting with in terms of Moodle, and then I'll be done, and then we can have questions. The third thing that I think I'm going to experiment in we call them super sections. There are 183 people. I'm going to experiment with requiring students to blog about the lecture on discussion forums, and I will tell you why. I've always had discussion forums for students to come in and say, look, I didn't understand what Jenkins was saying whenever he said this, can somebody help me? And then students or the TAs will answer their questions. But I didn't realize this until just last week. Some student says, all right, so Jenkins says X, Y, and Z, and I didn't get it. And this particular student answered in a blog, and it could have been verbatim my lecture.
Wow.
Verbatim. She had taken such good notes that it was verbatim. And here's what floored me. The initial student who wrote the post and says, I didn't understand what Jenkins was saying, responded, that makes things so much clearer, thanks. And I'm asking, and so I asked my graduate student, I asked the TAs, I said, all right, look, why is this? How is it that all she basically did was transcribe my lectures? And they said, because we're so used to seeing things on the computer screen that in seeing that kind of stuff visually, that we think that it's clear rather than auditory learning. You can do it within Moodle blog. Yeah, I'm going to do it. I do it in discussion forums because I want students to actually supplement one another's stuff. Because my goal is that at the end of the semester, each of the students in each group would have a running blog commentary on the lecture. So it's almost like a corporate note-taking skill. Because I know that you guys know that our students can't take notes. They can't. They can take notes if they're copying down your PowerPoint, but taking notes as you're lecturing, they are clueless. So I'm talking about as a simple majority. Because I can see them. They're not taking down notes. They're not writing anything. You give them gold, and they don't think it's important, so it doesn't get in their notes. And then later on they say to you, it's not in my notes, as if that absolves them from not having it in their notes. So I think that the TAs and I are going to develop this blog discussion forum where we just ask, it becomes one of their PRPs. It becomes one of their writing assignments where they have to be part of the blog composition of a peer, the peer note taking. So
Is that part of the grade?
what assignment that they would do would go to one of the grade things. In my intro to theology class, they have something like 17 assignments. 7 mini papers, 7 quizzes, a comprehensive final exam, a little mini research project, participation in small groups. Right? I mean, so they don't have catastrophic failure if they mess up a quiz, because there are 7 of them. They just throw together some kind of one-page paper. It's not their best work, and they get a 65 on it. It's not catastrophic because it's one of 7. So yeah, one of those 7 things, it would probably go into that grade category. You can't ask a student to do anything that isn't graded in a core level class, because then they won't do it, or they won't take it seriously. That's what I found. This is what I found. If there's not a grade attached to it, they won't take it seriously. I have started requiring students to pass my final exam to pass the class. If you want to pass the class, you pass the final exam. And my final exam grades have gone exponentially up, because students will think, I got a B+. If I fail the final exam, I'm still getting out of here with a C. So you have to pass with a 60 or you don't pass. And it's in the syllabus, so they can't whinge and whine. It's there. They know it. All of my quizzes, all of the quizzes are almost like studies. The final exam comprehensive questions come from the quiz. So every time they are taking a quiz, they are studying for their final exam, and they're making their study guide. So it's comprehensive. Hold it. Bill, can you hold on for a second?
Sure.
William.
I do REO 200 benevolence, and obviously these labs are obviously discussions with the entire class. But I love the idea of a video for that, because we have an athlete from time to time that might miss a lab, so then you give them a chance to kind of catch up on what the discussion was in that particular lab. What about, any kind of reservations with regard to students being in video?
I always say to students whenever it's a video, it's only on me.
Okay.
And anytime, all the students in the class know that I am audio and video recording it. And I tell them, if you don't want your voice to be recorded, then when you raise your hand, signal me to turn it off, and I will turn it off so that your voice is not recorded, and then I will turn it back on.
It doesn't affect much dialogue, though?
Well, then I would turn it back on, and then I would state the question. It's only happened to me once in 4 years where a student didn't want her voice on the recording.
But do you know, would there be a problem with, that open discussion with the students sitting there and showing them on the video on one of the sites?
I don't think it would be on Moodle. I think it would be like if we posted it to the website. But since Moodle is closed.
And it's just for their classmates.
And if they know that they're being recorded.
Right. Well, I never even thought about this till today, Skip, and that would be great for benevolence labs.
Yeah, I mean, I've actually been kicking around the idea that RELG 200 gets melded. Well, now we're talking about curriculum revisions. I'll stop.
Turn it off and put it on.
It would be possible to use this to kind of meld RELG 200 ideas into an ethics class. So you could already pre-package the RELG 200 into an ethics class, and you could put the videos and things up. They could already, like I'm saying, they could be pre-packaged. The same people who do the lectures,
Right.
Could do it, and then you wouldn't have to. You could still do RELG 200, but you wouldn't have to do it as a separate class, and it wouldn't have to take academic credit away. But
You get only 120 instead of 30.
yeah. But anyway, these are just the ideas of a person who can't implement ideas.
With the videos where you're talking about having them do something attached to that video, that's a great place for Google Docs. You can create it's super easy to create a Google Doc that has type in the question and then there's a fillable form where the students can just type in the response, and when they get to the bottom they just click submit and it goes right in, and you've got all the responses in the Excel sheet, and you keep really easy track of the data that you get with that then. So I've done that in classes to
Okay.
use the Google Doc with that. Tons of stuff in Google that you can embed or connect that help expedite some kind of thing.
Okay. See, this is the thing. I didn't even know that. I mean, I've heard of Google Docs, but I would have never even thought about doing that. Because I would have thought about it as just, making a worksheet or something like
All
that.
you have to do is you just have the link right below the video, click on the video, and then link is filling it out as they're watching, bam, submit, done.
Ah, there you go. That's an idea for me for sure.
But then, with your way, they'd have a hard copy to study from, and your way, they would have an electronic copy to study from?
They can answer the questions if they want on a separate form. This is what Diet Ward does with all the library instruction. She's done that in any of her classes where she's used Camtasia and creates the videos. And then she creates a Google Doc with it that students can just complete based, just a little mini quiz almost on what they're seeing there. So if it's something that students have to have, they can always just do a screenshot and move it that way.
And there's always the cut and paste way, right? The old
Right.
school.
Yeah, you cut and paste it.
Control A. Yep. I read Kevin Brown's blog on flipping the classroom, and he does talk about how there's a lot of work up front because you have to record your lectures, and then you have to know which lecture is which if you're going to make it, class sensitive. But I mean, it's not that difficult if you stay up on it. I had like 17 lectures on my little microphone thing one time. It took me hours to figure out what class it was and which lecture it was. But
Just read an article this weekend, I guess, about somebody's research on the flipped classroom, and it was a doctoral level pharmaceutical class is what they were talking about. But after 3 years of data, there were statistically significant gains in the students that were in the flipped environment. Because they did the lectures and, of course, outside, they had to still read the chapters, but then they saw the lectures. When they came to class, they did small group collaborative problem-solving exercises that come out of the medical world, if you will. And as they worked through those, then whenever they hit a snag, they raised their hand, asked a question, and he said that was what gave him the opportunity to insert the little mini lectures that sort of glued it all together for him. And he said initially there was a lot of wailing and gnashing of teeth because they had to do more outside class to be prepared to engage appropriately in the classroom. But over time they began to see and realize that they were developing deeper understandings for that.
Do you think
But
that's reality for undergrads?
I think it is if it is, but it takes a tremendous amount of work to carefully construct those activities when they come into the class.
Yes.
That's the key to it, and I think that there's a real art
Absolutely.
creating the kinds of things that really engage students at high levels in the classroom then.
And probably upper division classes.
I think in time it'll be undergraduate because the flipped classroom is really being applied in K-12 right now, heavily. So as time comes when they end up on university campuses, that's when it's going to be more the norm.
Like, doing it at all levels.
Interesting.
Well, that's the one reason why I wouldn't do the flip classes, because I wouldn't want to go through all that stuff up front about, well, if you make me read and you make me write about what I'm reading and then you make me watch your lecture, why am I even coming to class? You know, and so I just wouldn't want to I just don't know if I could deal with the headache. You know, yeah, engaging the content. I completely agree with you. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine a bunch of students sitting around in a computer lab somewhere cheating to do it online. But see, I don't care about that because they've got to pass the final exam to pass the class. So if you're going to cheat on the quiz in order to get, you know, an A on the quiz, it's going to come back and get you on the final exam. So, you know, for this class right here, all of my quizzes are open note quizzes because I am absolutely convinced that the reason why students perform poorly on my essay exams is because they don't know how to take notes. So I want to encourage them to take better notes by allowing them to use their notes on the quiz. So for my class, I don't care, I don't have any problem because I'm already allowing them to use their notes. Again, I am absolutely committed to skills building. I mean, I don't even know if a QEP skills building thing would be possible because we just got off critical thinking skills. We're doing college level work, which is going to take college level reading and engagement of text and engagement of the material. But I try to help them do better at that kind of stuff. And I always pray a prayer, you know, kind of imprecate a curse prayer before the final exam. Where I'm like, oh Lord, you know those who are cheaters, and I pray that your justice will shine forth on this exam.
I don't know if you've considered this or not, but I saw this in an online course where the professor's lectures were there. They were full-blown lectures from the course. But then some of his TAs had done just video shorts, you know, where it'd be a little 3-minute extra explanation of a particular concept that could be a problematic idea for students. So like 3 to 5 minute just short clips that they did to provide additional information on a particular topic. For example, this was a computer programming class, so one of the video shorts was just, you know, here's extra information if you still don't understand binary. You know, so it was just about 5 minutes on that to further clarify, go a little deeper into an idea or a definition of something.
Every fourth class we have what we call preceptorials, and the graduate students, we break the 183 students up into 5 groups of 30, whatever it is, and they have that graduate student answering questions of clarification and format and methodology for 25 minutes every fourth class. But I had never thought about the little mini shorts.
Yeah, because it'd be interesting to take data from those sessions then to see, are there recurring questions here? Is there a particular sticking point that they frequently have to address, and that would be content that could go into a little short video that could maybe answer some of that.
I was hoping that the discussion forums might tease some of that kind of stuff out, but I mean, this is a good idea too, because there are already ideas that we know that are going to be a problem. It doesn't matter how I alter the lecture or what new anecdote or analogy I come up with. I can always be sure that the discussion of the Roman Catholic Church and the Apocrypha, and Luther, I can always be sure it's going to create, deer in the headlights, and people, what are you talking about that the Bible I use isn't the ancient Christian Bible? It really freaks people out. So I think we might do that, graduate students. be happy.
Did you say you wouldn't use this in a message class of 50 kids?
Wait a minute.
You said that you're using this in a larger class?
Yeah, I don't know if my first 5 years, this is what I did for every introduction to theology class that I taught. It was exhausting. But I mean, I did it myself for my first 5 years. So I know the kind of work that it takes to do that. My worst semesters were the semesters where I taught 2 intro to theology and 2 ethics. So I've got 200 students and I'm reading all of this stuff. And it used to be 10 quizzes and 10 PRPs. So I've just kind of reduced that kind of load because I've moved to skill-based instead of knowledge. It's not an issue of are they getting the knowledge as much as is the skill. So you can. I've decided to reduce the number of assignments to see if they're getting the skill, rather than being all caught up with whether they know what I know. See, I don't have to be caught up with whether they know what I know because we're not like a professional degree or anything. They're not going to go take the LSAT, or they're not going to go. It's not an issue of credentialing or what's that big doctor's test? MCAT? It's not.
Is it a big doctor or a big test?
The big doctor's test. Yeah. Well.
These are very content-oriented questions.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah, this is critical. I tell them my exams are critical thinking skill 5. It's problem solving, judgment and problem solving. Every single assignment that I have is connected to a critical thinking skill. And the final exam is critical thinking skill number 5.
Well, it's 5. We can't pay you people overtime.
Thanks, Skip.
Thank you so much, Skip. It's really helpful.
Sure. Appreciate the invitation.